a forgotten text, a hidden truth. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, banned and ignored, holds secrets that can shake the structures of traditional Christianity. Imagine an ancestral wisdom, capable of freeing the soul from the bonds of the material world. Mary Magdalene, close to Jesus, brings to light teachings that reveal how we can transcend our limitations. In this gospel, a powerful message: human souls are imprisoned by desires and passions. But what if there was a path to spiritual freedom? What did Mary Magdalene really know about human nature and transcendence? What did religious leaders fear when they silenced these truths? As we delve into Magdalene's teachings, a new perspective on life reveals itself. Peace and spiritual wisdom are closer than you imagine. However, these teachings were hidden for centuries. Why? What is at stake when we talk about spiritual liberation? Get ready for a journey of discovery. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene may be the missing key to untying the knots of existence. The truth is here, waiting to be revealed. In the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, transcendence is presented as a path to spiritual liberation. This idea revolves around overcoming desires and passions that bind souls to the material world. Maria, in her words, invites followers to reflect on what really matters in life and to seek a deeper connection with the divine. The proposal is that, by letting go of material ties, it is possible to achieve a state of peace and understanding that goes beyond everyday life. Mary's teachings emphasize that true liberation does not come from material possessions or temporary achievements, but rather from an inner state of serenity. This search for transcendence requires a critical look at our own desires, which often divert us from the spiritual path. The message is clear. The more we cling to what is ephemeral, the further we are from our divine essence. Transcendence is also seen as a process of self-knowledge. Maria encourages introspection and meditation as ways to better understand yourself and your desires. This practice helps to distinguish what is really necessary for spiritual evolution. Thus, liberation becomes a conscious act where each person is responsible for their own journey. Furthermore, the Mary Magdalene narrative suggests that transcendence is a collective calling. By overcoming individual limitations, we can contribute to a more harmonious world. This idea of community and mutual support is vital, as together we can face life's challenges and help each other achieve spiritual freedom. Therefore, the nature of transcendence in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene is not just an abstract concept, but a daily practice. It is an invitation to all of us to reflect on what holds us back and to seek a path that leads us to a fuller and more meaningful life, away from the distractions and illusions of the material world. Mary Magdalene emerges as a central figure in the teachings of Jesus, often seen as the spokesperson for esoteric knowledge. Through her stories, she presents wisdom that goes beyond what is taught in traditional doctrines. Her role is not just that of a follower, but of a true holder of deep spiritual knowledge, which can illuminate the path of many. The teachings that Mary transmits are rich in symbolism and depth. They reveal aspects of the divine that are often hidden in conventional narratives. She talks about the importance of understanding the essence of the soul and seeking inner truth, something that resonates strongly with those seeking deeper meaning in spiritual life. Mary Magdalene, therefore, becomes a symbol of wisdom for those who wish to explore subtler dimensions of existence. The way Mary is portrayed challenges the traditional view that only men could be bearers of divine revelations. She breaks paradigms and shows that wisdom has no gender. This perspective is fundamental for the inclusion of female voices in spirituality and the search for esoteric knowledge. His figure represents a new way of looking at spirituality, where everyone has the right and ability to access divine wisdom. Furthermore, Maria Magdalena also emphasizes the importance of personal experience in the search for knowledge. Instead of just accepting dogmas, it encourages the practice and living of the teachings. This practical and experiential approach is essential, as it allows each person to have their own contact with the sacred. Mary thus becomes a guide who guides but does not impose, allowing each person to follow their own path. Therefore, the figure of Mary Magdalene as a spokesperson for esoteric knowledge is fundamental for understanding contemporary spirituality. It represents the search for truth that goes beyond appearances and invites everyone to explore the richness of inner knowledge, promoting a more authentic connection with the divine. The teachings of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene raise important questions about the traditional doctrines of Christianity. By proposing a more inclusive and less hierarchical vision, Maria challenges the idea that spiritual truth is exclusive to an institution or a specific group of people. This perspective brings to light the need to reevaluate power structures within the Church and how they can limit the spiritual experience of individuals. One of the main challenges that the Gospel presents is the criticism of the religious hierarchy. Mary Magdalene demonstrates that spiritual wisdom should not be monopolized by clergy or ecclesiastical leaders. Instead, everyone has the ability and right to access divine knowledge. This democratization of spirituality is an important step towards a more authentic and less dogmatic practice, allowing everyone to seek their own relationship with the sacred. Furthermore, Mary's teachings question the exclusivity of traditional paths to salvation. In her words, she suggests that spiritual liberation is a personal journey and does not depend on intermediaries. This view can be disconcerting to those who believe that salvation is something that must be mediated by the Church. Thus, the Gospel of Mary Magdalene opens up space for new interpretations and practices that can enrich the spirituality of many people. The challenges brought by the Gospel are also reflected in gender issues within the Church. The presence of Mary as a prominent figure in Jesus' teachings questions the marginalization of women in religious contexts. This new vision allows us to recognize the importance of women in spirituality, promoting a more balanced dialogue about the role of each individual in the search for the divine. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene invites us to rethink our understanding of Christianity. He proposes a spirituality that values personal experience, equality, and the search for inner truth. This approach can be a path forward for those who feel disconnected from traditional doctrines, offering a new perspective on how to live a more authentic and meaningful spiritual life. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene, although full of wisdom, has been silenced throughout history for reasons that go beyond mere religious interpretation. The Church, in its quest to maintain a unified doctrine, decided to exclude texts that did not align with its official teaching. This not only marginalized Mary's voice, but also limited understanding of female spirituality. The silencing of this gospel was not only a question of doctrine, but also of power and control over the spiritual narrative. The exclusion of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene had a profound impact on the perception of women in the religious context. By not recognizing the contribution of female figures like Mary, the Church reinforced a patriarchal view of spirituality. This lack of female representation in religious discourse contributed to the idea that spirituality was a predominantly male space, which, in turn, alienated many women from spiritual practice and teaching. Furthermore, silencing has brought to light the idea that female spirituality is inferior or irrelevant. This created a stigma that lasted for centuries, causing many female voices to be ignored or undervalued. When women tried to express their spiritual experiences, they were often discouraged or silenced, leading to a disconnect between them and their own spirituality. This erasure not only affected women, but also spirituality in its entirety. The lack of the Gospel of Mary Magdalene and other similar texts has resulted in an impoverished view of what it means to seek spiritual truth. A plurality of voices and experiences is fundamental to a broader understanding of spirituality, and the exclusion of Mary Magdalene limited this diversity. The implications of the silencing of the gospel are still felt today. Many people seek to rescue this forgotten voice and integrate its teachings into contemporary spiritual practice. The return to the figure of Mary Magdalene, therefore, is not only a rediscovery of a text, but also a quest to restore the connection between spirituality and female experiences throughout history. Mary Magdalene offers us valuable teachings on how to achieve spiritual freedom and inner peace. She proposes practices that promote self-knowledge, such as meditation. Meditation, according to Mary's teachings, is a powerful tool for silencing the mind and connecting with the inner self. By taking time for reflection and stillness, we can free ourselves from the distractions of the outside world and find a space of peace within ourselves. Another important aspect that Maria emphasizes is the need to overcome the desires and passions that bind us to materialism. In her teachings, she suggests that, by understanding and accepting our emotions, we can transform them into points of learning and growth. This self-awareness is fundamental for those seeking spiritual freedom, as it allows us to understand what really matters and keeps us away from things that do not bring true satisfaction. Maria also talks about the importance of authenticity. Being true to yourself is one of the most direct paths to freedom. When we allow ourselves to be who we really are, without fear of other people's judgment, we are able to free ourselves from social constraints that prevent us from advancing spiritually. This process of self-acceptance is essential for cultivating inner peace and well-being. The practice of love and forgiveness is another crucial teaching that Mary Magdalene shares. She reminds us that love is the most powerful force for liberation. Learning to love ourselves and others, even in difficult situations, is a vital step towards spiritual freedom. Forgiveness, both of ourselves and others, helps us let go of the weight of the past and live fully in the present. The search for a deeper connection with the divine is a path that Mary Magdalene invites us to follow. This can be done through rituals, contemplation in nature, or simply the daily practice of gratitude. This connection helps us realize that we are part of something bigger, which provides a sense of belonging and peace that transcends the difficulties of everyday life. The teachings of Mary Magdalene contained in her Gospel bring profound reflections that still resonate today. In a world increasingly focused on materialism, many feel lost amid desires and social pressures. Mary Magdalene teaches us that it is possible to find a path that goes beyond these superficialities. She invites us to look inside ourselves, questioning what really matters and what brings us true satisfaction. This search for spiritual authenticity is something that many people are rediscovering these days. Furthermore, the teachings of Mary Magdalene open space for a more inclusive and personal spirituality. In contrast to rigid dogmas, it proposes that each of us can have a direct and individual relationship with the divine. This idea is especially relevant today when many people seek forms of spirituality that do not fit into conventional religious traditions. The freedom to explore spirituality in a personal way, without intermediaries, is a powerful message that can help heal emotional wounds and promote a sense of belonging. Another important issue is the criticism of materialism and its consequences. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene warns us about how obsession with material goods and status can keep us away from what really matters. In times of exacerbated consumerism, this message is an invitation to reflect on our priorities. By focusing on what is essential, we can find peace and satisfaction, even in the midst of a world that constantly bombards us with new needs and desires. Mary Magdalene's teachings also inspire us to cultivate compassion and empathy. In a society marked by division and individualism, his messages of love and acceptance become a beacon. By developing a collective consciousness and supporting each other, we can create a more harmonious and supportive environment. Spirituality, according to Maria Magdalena, is not only an individual journey, but also a community construction. The contemporary relevance of Mary Magdalene's teachings is reflected in the search for a balance between material and spiritual life. In a fast-paced world, it's easy to forget the importance of slowing down and reflecting. Her teachings encourage us to find moments of silence and introspection, allowing us to reconnect with our essence. This practice not only helps us deal with everyday challenges, but also guides us toward a fuller, more meaningful life. As we explore the teachings of Mary Magdalene, we are confronted with powerful questions. What if true spiritual freedom were within our reach, but hidden beneath layers of dogma? What happens when we free ourselves from the bonds of desire and passion? Mary invites us to look within, to question what we have been taught. It reveals that transcendence is not a distant destination, but a state of consciousness that we can achieve here and now. Imagine if you could detach yourself from everyday worries and find the inner peace you crave. The Gospel of Mary Magdalene shows us that this journey begins with self-knowledge and acceptance of our true essence. So what steps can you take today to begin your own spiritual quest? What fears and limitations do you need to confront? The truth can be challenging, but it is also liberating. In the end, the choice is in your hands. Continue living stuck to the material or embrace the wisdom that can transform your life. Don't forget to leave your reflections in the comments and share your experiences. After all, the spiritual journey is made up of collective discoveries.